Thanks, Al.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Do we have any closed session reports?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report out of closed session.
I would like to ask Alan if he would come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. All right, before we move on, quick comment. I'm carrying extra gear tonight. I just wanted to explain because it's like I'm uncomfortable about it, but I am going through some treatment with the doctor, and he has insisted that I do oxygen therapy for the time being. So unfortunately, as much as I hate having this on, doctor's orders, we're going to go to teleconference script.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prior to roll call, I would like to please make a clear record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes that this city council meeting is being conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953, and that Mayor Pro Tem Rocky Rhodes is in Shanghai, China, and he's participating by way of Zoom. In accordance with the Ralph Brown Act, the teleconference location has been identified within the notice and agenda for this meeting. Madam Clerk, it would now be appropriate for you to conduct roll call, after which I would ask the mayor to recognize me in order to confirm specific items for the record.
Councilmember Lister?
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Here.
Councilmember Judge?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes?
Here.
Mayor Thomas?
Here. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would now like to request that Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes respond to the following questions. Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings on this end up until now?
Yes,
Do you have copies of the agenda for this meeting?
I do.
Have you posted the agenda at the location where you are?
I have.
Where did you make such a posting?
They are on the door of this conference room, which is open to the public, as well as the front door of this building.
Thank you. And is there any member of the public there with you now who would like to participate in the public comment portion of this meeting or otherwise address any agenda item for this meeting to your knowledge?
There is no one else in the room.
Thank you. I would like to now ask any member of the city council to speak up at this time if such council member has not been able to clearly hear Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes. Hearing no comment, the record should reflect that all council members present have indicated that they were able to hear Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes clearly. I would now like to advise the mayor and city council members and the city clerk that any votes taken during this meeting must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Are there any items for agenda review?
There are none, sir.
None? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second?
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Lister?
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes?
Yes,
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should declare so at this time. Seeing none, we can continue.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. Mr. Mayor, we have no public comment for this item this evening. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A1, adoption of a resolution reciting the fact that a general municipal election was held on November 5, 2024, and
Madam
declaring the
Clerk?
results. thereof, and such matters as provided by law.
Madam Clerk, we skipped 1D.
Apologies. Let's see. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Julie, I'm sorry. My apologies. Item 1D. I would be happy to have it here. Where is it? Okay. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D, presentation of a certificate of appreciation to outgoing Community Development Block Grant Committee member. And Julia Ramirez is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. This evening, we recognize 3 outgoing members of the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee. The committee members are committed to the city's continued effort to provide services and community improvements to low and moderate income residents. During their tenure, these committee members diligently reviewed, evaluated, and recommended funding allocations that benefited Simi Valley residents. Please join me in congratulating the outgoing committee members, Mr. Brian Kane, Mr. Alan Mann, and Mr. Pete Stong, on a job well done. Will Mr. Kane and Mr. Mann please step forward? Unfortunately, Mr. Pete Stong was unable to join us this evening, but we will make sure that we give him our deepest gratitude and mail his certificate.
This is the first time I've ever got to step down for the mayor. That's very kind of you to let me do this. Actually, gentlemen, thank you for all you've done for the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee. That's actually not the easiest committee to be part of. So thank you for your service, and we know that you're still serving in many capacities, but very appreciated. Do you have any comments, anything you want to say about the process? I'm good. You're good. You're glad to be done?
Not a politician, don't need the microphone.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Much appreciated.
Hang on a minute. A rose between thorns.
Thank you.
Okay, now. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A1, adoption of a resolution reciting the fact that a general municipal election was held on November 5th, 2024, and declaring the results thereof, such other matters as provided by law. The reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2024-53, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley reciting the fact that a general municipal election was held in the City of Simi Valley on November 5th, 2024, and declaring the results thereof and such other matters as provided by law. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the California Election Code requires that the city enter into its record the statement of election results following each municipal election. Accordingly, an official copy of the results of the November 5th, 2024 general municipal election, as certified by the Ventura County Clerk, is attached to the staff report. Fred Thomas received the most votes for the office of mayor. Dee Dee Kavanaugh received the most votes for District 1 City Council member seat, and Elaine Litzter received the most votes for District 3 City Council member seat. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution number 2024-53, entering a statement of the election results as certified by the Ventura County Clerk on December 5th, 2024, into the city's official records. This concludes the report. At this time, the certificates of election and the oath of office to the elected mayor and city council members will be presented and administered by the city clerk.
May I make a motion, please? I move to adopt resolution number 2024-53, reciting the fact of the general municipal election and declaring the results thereof and such other matters as provided by law.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Lister?
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Mayor Thomas, can you please stand? I, Lucy Blanco, City Clerk in and for the City of Simi Valley in the State of California, do hereby certify that at the general election held in and for said county on November 5th, 2024, Fred Thomas was elected to the office of City Mayor, City of Simi Valley, as it appears by the official returns of said election and the statement of votes cast now on file. May you please raise your right hand and repeat after me and state your name. I, Fred Thomas, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Right? Do you want on your phone too, Mayor? Perfect. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Congratulations.
Councilmember Kavanaugh, can you please stand? I, Lucy Blanco, City Clerk in and for the City of Simi Valley in the State of California, do hereby certify that at the general election in and for said county on November 5th, 2024, Dee Dee Kavanaugh was elected to the office of Member of the City Council, City of Simi Valley, District 1, as it appears by the official returns of said election and the statement of votes cast now on file. If you can please raise your right hand and repeat after me and state your name.
I, Dee Dee Kavanaugh,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of
or
evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
So Dee Dee, get yourself centered. No more. Okay.
Right? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Councilmember Lister, can you please stand? I, Lucy Blanco, City Clerk in and for the City of Simi Valley and State of California, do hereby certify that at the general election held on and for said county on November 5th, 2024, Elaine Lidster was elected to the office of Member of the City Council, City of Simi Valley, District 3, as it appears by the official records of said election and the statement of votes cast now on file. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me and state your name. I
I, Elaine Litster,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
And I would love to invite my husband and my daughter and my granddaughter to come forward, if that's all right.
Okay, Fred.
Do you mind? I'm sorry.
Perfect. One more for me. Thank you.
At this time, the privilege of the floor is extended to the elected mayor and council members.
Well, I would simply like to say it's been an honor for me to serve the last 2 years. I actually enjoyed every bit of it, even though it seemed like there was always somebody that wanted to counter what I was doing. But it's meant a lot, and having gone to a reelection and and being reelected, it made me feel like I must have been doing what I was supposed to do, because I was, I felt overwhelmed by the support I got in the last election. And I really appreciate it, and I plan on working just as hard. And thank you for everybody who supported me. And I guess that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everybody who didn't run against me. It was the first time I've ran unopposed, so it was very nice to be able to just meet and talk to people and not have to be campaigning the whole time. Thank my planning commissioner for him and his wife, for Alan and Antoinette, for all the help they've given me over the years. This is the start of my third term on the city council, and this is the community I love. I was brought up here, raised my daughter here, my grandchildren are here. So I'm just so thrilled to continue to be able to work for all of you out here in our community and to keep it a safe place to live, a great place to raise our families, and just a wonderful community of volunteers and community organizations that support and help each other at all times. So thank you, everyone.
Well, I saw on the agenda that we were supposed to give a speech, and so I prepared my speech. However, I don't think I'm going to give it all. I just want to be very careful.
You're more than welcome to.
No,
More than welcome to.
No, I really, actually, what I wanted to start with, it's been an honor. I've served now for 6 years, and this begins going into now 4 more, and it's truly been an honor to represent this beautiful city and to be part of it. And I've really appreciated working with our new city manager, Sam Argabright, and all of her amazing staff. And I wanted to specifically thank Sue Klepper, who's there against the back wall, who just is the silent, quiet one behind that makes everything happen. In fact, if she counted, I probably called her 4 times today about some of the most menial matters. And so I appreciate everyone behind the scenes who answers our questions and helps us with what we do. And it's been a pleasure to work with our attorney, Al. Appreciate your efforts. And I was going to go through and talk about the environmental services and public works and safety. The reality is there's a lot of components that make our city wonderful, and they all do so much. And it's been a true honor to get to know those components and to have a little bit of influence on how they operate and some of the things that they do. We are blessed to be in a very safe community, and I was going to go back and discuss and thank my colleagues for our collegiality. How's that for a word? We don't always agree. In fact, if you go back and look at our votes, you'll see that we are not always unanimous, and that's in open session and closed session. But we respect each other, and we come back and we work together on the next problem, and everything is good. And I appreciate that attitude up here at the dais. It truly makes it so enjoyable. But going back to I was going to mention some of the departments. It was a joy today. We live in a very safe community. Today, for instance, I was able to go and see the drone demonstration of what our police force are doing to protect us, and there's some great things happening behind the scenes. That's what I wanted to say. I am going to skip through all the fun. I was going to talk about it, but I'm going to skip it because we'll get to it later. It's fine. And they say often, in fact, I want you to know that Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes is smiling because often he will start his timer and tell me how long I've been talking. So, see? So for that reason, I am not going to go through everything I had prepared, Rocky. But I'm going to get to a few more things. I could talk about our wonderful balanced budget, but I want to talk about our community treasures. We have a beautiful library. I'm looking forward to talking about ways that we can continue to remodel and modernize it. I know there's a desire to do that, and we would love to own it outright, and so I'm looking forward to that discussion. I'm looking forward to seeing the great things happening at the Senior Center. I know there's some remodeling happening there, including the patio cover, which is going to happen. Excited about that. Wonderful youth services. Our Cultural Arts Commission, our Cultural Arts Center is a jewel. I'm excited about the conversation about a civic arts amphitheater that would be a jewel for our community, a way that the city of 126,000 could gather and celebrate and be entertained and informed. And so I'm excited for that discussion to continue. Like Councilmember Kavanaugh, I am very grateful that we didn't have to fight a big battle and that I was unopposed. It was a real blessing, but I wanted to specifically thank Sandra Fernelius. You don't know this lovely woman, but she has been my treasurer secretary through years and years of all my craziness in desiring to run for office. And it started in 2014, and she still thinks she's my friend. And I'm so grateful to her. I just had to speak to her and also thank Pam Stalker, my sign chair, who was almost disappointed that she didn't have to put out hundreds of signs. I mean, she was been gearing up for years. And so I just had to thank these lovely women. Wanted to thank wonderful constituents. These are nonpartisan positions. We represent everyone, and I want to be very clear that we do, and I take that to heart. It's been interesting to speak with many people, everything from tree issues to problems with, well, I don't need to go into all of them, but it's so fun to be part of just these little solutions that we get to be part of. I want to thank my family, who you notice came for the picture and left immediately, and that's so I told them to. I told them to do that. Wait, my husband's in the back. I'm sorry. You know, he puts up with a lot from me. I just want to be very clear, and he knows it, and yet he's a wonderful sounding board and is a wonderful cheerleader, and I know that I wouldn't be here were it not for his efforts. So thank you, Greg. I appreciate you. And looking forward to 4 more years of wonderful service with all of you here on the dais. So thank you, everyone, for this opportunity.
So you inspired me of a few things I probably should have said. I did have opponents. I had, I guess, 3, although one I've never met, I've never seen him, I don't know. But I can tell you the other 2, I met on several occasions. One I've known since the last time I ran, and one new opponent. And I can tell you that in the process of doing this, I've made 2 new friends. And it was a very friendly system, and I appreciate that. And I also have had nothing but a positive experience with my fellow council members. I think it's been a great experience, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3B1, appointment of Mayor Pro Tem, Vice Chair, President Pro Tem. Each December, the City Council considers the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem and appoints a City Council member other than the mayor to serve as Mayor Pro Tem, as well as Vice Chair of the District Authority and President Pro Tem of the Library Board of Trustees. It is recommended that the City Council Board of Directors, Board of Trustees consider the appointment to the Mayor Pro Tem, Vice Chair, President Pro Tem positions. This concludes staff presentation.
Mr. Mayor?
I believe that per our schedule, that it is supposed to be Dee Dee. Is that correct? And do I have a motion?
To that end, Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Dee Dee Kavanaugh as Mayor Pro Tem, Vice Chair, President Pro Tem of Simi Valley City Council, Library Board, and whatever else that President Pro Tem.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Lister?
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3B2, appointment to the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee, and Senior Management Analyst Julia Ramirez is here to present this item.
Good evening once again. The 5-member Block Grant Advisory Committee was established by the City Council in 2006. Members are appointed to provide funding recommendations on annual block grant applications. 3 committee members are completing their respective terms on December 31st. To fill these vacancies, the Simi Valley Council on Aging nominated Mr. Al Brown. The Planning Commission nominated Mr. John Tolson. And staff is presenting Mr. Sam Cohen as nominee. Mr. Brown, Mr. Tolson, and Mr. Cohen, will you please step forward. It is recommended that the City Council approve and the mayor appoint these nominees to the Block Grant Advisory Committee for their respective terms.
I just want, actually, I am delighted that it's you two, because let me tell you just a little bit about these wonderful men. This Mr. Al Brown, he volunteers for everything, and he's a phenomenal magician. In fact, I once got to be his assistant, but he is such an integral part of the Council on Aging. And so you get another, or would you like another volunteer pin, that you're amazing pin? Thank you, Al. And this wonderful man is my planning commissioner, who I meant to thank. And I'm sorry, you were on the list, but that was part of what I excerpted. No, it's not okay, so I apologize. No, John Tolson knows everyone in the city, and he fights for everyone in the city, and and you'll both be wonderful on this block grant committee. Much appreciated for all you do. Thank you. Would you two like to say something?
No.
No.
I knew Al wanted to say something.
I'll be taking offers for people who want to get some money later on. No. This was a very, very tough appointment for me because I know how hard this particular job is. All the other things I do are easy and I have a lot of fun. Some of you here know me for that. My life is designed around having fun. This happens to be one area that the only fun part has a downside too. But we'll live with that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
May I make a motion, Mr. Mayor? I move to
Yes,
approve.
please.
I move to approve and the mayor appoint, oops, I'm on the wrong. Sorry, I'm on to the next item already.
Oh.
Okay, let me go back one to item 2. Here we go. At least I recognized it. The names didn't match. I move to approve and the mayor appoint the nominees to the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee for a term commencing on January 1, 2025 and expiring on December 31, 2027. That would be John Tolson and Al Brown.
Second.
Sorry to say the wrong color.
And there's a third one.
Yes.
And
And Sam Cohen.
second.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Rhodes,
Yes.
Councilmember Litzter,
Yes.
Councilmember Judge,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Absolutely, of course. Wonderful choices.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3B3. Interview and appointment of planning commissioners and Deputy Environmental Services Director. Sean Gibson is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and City Council members. Concurrent with the beginning of Mayor Thomas's 2-year council term and Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh's and Councilmember Litzter's 4-year terms, the terms of their respective planning commission members expired and their seats must be reappointed to their existing commissioners or appointed with new commissioners. At this time, Mayor Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh, and Councilmember Litzter may each nominate a planning commissioner, and the council may interview the nominees at this meeting. With a majority vote for each, the mayor may appoint each nominee. The prospective nominees, as noted in the staff report, are in the audience tonight for nominations and questions. If appointed tonight, they will be seated immediately for the upcoming planning commission meetings. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to appoint.
You don't want to ask them lots of questions, grill
No,
them. This is our
I'm going to
chance.
submit my name.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Well, actually,
Actually, do we do these together separately? I wasn't aware. I'm sorry.
okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and name your nominee?
Is that, okay. Actually, well, I would love to have nominated Mr. John Tolson as my nominee. But do we, I'm sorry, my question is, do we consider these separately or together? Wasn't sure how that's done.
No, that's okay. And Dee Dee?
I would like to nominate Alan Seaman as my planning commissioner.
And I would like to nominate Lee Kennedy to be reappointed. So with that, does anyone have any questions for any of the nominees?
I just want to make Sean, are you okay with these guys? Because you have a say in this.
Our planning commissioners do a wonderful job.
Okay.
He should be in politics.
So I thought this was a fun opportunity for them to come up to the dais and say something. I'm sure they all wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Look at Alan nodding.
Mine can talk anytime, anywhere about anything.
If anyone
give
would
Alan a
like to come
microphone.
up and make a statement, you're more than welcome.
I think we should call them up. Alan will come up first.
He even has his notes ready.
I have watched the videos of the last time you guys did the appointments. Mr. Mayor, I'm glad to see you put your oxygen back on. I'm sure your doctor's very happy because he's watching. Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh, congratulations on your appointment. Council members, staff. As the current Planning Commissioner Chair, it is my honor to serve on the Planning Commission. I have served on it now 8 years. 8 years. I consider it an honor to give back to the community. I was basically raised in this community since I was 5 years old, 1969. Somebody can figure out the math. I raised my children in this community, and now my children are raising my grandchildren in this community. So I truly believe that something that the community has given us such a wonderful life, that is my way of giving back. Besides the foundations and boards and charities I support, giving back to the community is just one way that all the citizens in Simi will get a better way of life for the community. Are there any questions?
What is your priority as a council, as a sitting planning commissioner?
My priority is not to be a council member, thank you. Basically to make sure that the projects that come before the city that make sense, they're common sense, whether they're residential, whether they're commercial or industrial. My predecessors before me and our current Planning Commission board strives hard to get what we call four-sided architecture rather than just a commercial concrete block building, something that's got some style, some pizzazz, something that is attractive to look at rather than just a concrete tilt-up building. Same with the residential, same with apartment buildings. Obviously, we're doing a lot of apartment buildings in Simi, and not all of them the city wants. But bottom line is the state of California kind of mandates what the cities can and cannot do. So we have some projects that they're not our first choice, but overall, I think that we've done a great job with trying to minimize their impact and maximize how they look and how they're going to work in the community. So priorities are just making sure that every development that comes forth to the city makes sense, both architecturally, structurally, and flows with the community.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm sure my fellow predecessors, you want to jump in, I'll let you talk. Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
Answers, jokes, comments, remarks, suggestions, recipes?
Well, I got plenty of comments, but I'll
Okay.
give them to you later.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Okay, I'll give way if one of my other planning commissioners want to speak. If not,
Lou, we have to ask you the same question, what your priority is as a planning commissioner, after you talk.
Well, I just got back from Indianapolis, Indiana, and saw what their city plan looked like. And they have some weather issues there. And they were able to develop a city center around their convention center and arenas where you don't have to walk in 10-degree weather in the snow, which from a perspective of planning probably saved the city a lot of money, for people falling down and suing the city on the sidewalks and all the rest of that. So I always look to the future. What's the plan today going to look like 10 years from now? 3 weeks ago, I was invited to speak on a panel of the American Enterprise Institute in Washington, D.C. On housing policy. And spent 3 days back there with the chief economist from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and some of the other top policy housing people in D.C. And to get their perspective, not just from California, but on a national basis of how they're attacking the lack of housing, right? And some of the strategies that they're looking at. So outside of my playing around with race cars and running my business, it's a focus. I've been in real estate for quite some time. Does that answer your question?
Wonderfully. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything? But just one other fact, that Navy did beat Army this
Oh,
year.
look at the time. It's time for you to go.
I guess we need a motion.
I move to approve and the mayor appoint Lee Kennedy, Alan C. Mann, and John Tolson to the Planning Commission for a term to become effective immediately.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Litzter?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge? Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
You can see we have some outstanding planning commissioners. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. Since there are no public hearings under agenda item 5 this evening, agenda items 4 and 6 are combined, and the City Council will hear all public statements under agenda item 4. Agenda item 4 and 6 are the times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public statements, item 4, for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any comments, we can begin public statements.
Please proceed.
Thank you. The first speaker is Mary Beth Jacobson, followed by Kirk Heidinger and Michael Shaw.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas, members of the council, city staff. I'm Mary Beth Jacobson. I am the Director of Workforce Development for the Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here this evening to share with you the new format that we are implementing next month of the Chamber's Economic Development Committee, or the EDC as we prefer to call it in the Chamber. Our new format is intended to create more opportunities for businesses, government agencies, and service providers to inform Simi Valley residents about resources that are available to help their businesses prosper, their families thrive, and their community grow. Our first change is the committee's meeting schedule. Going forward, we will meet quarterly, in person, in January, April, August, and December. This schedule will permit more substantive changes to occur between meetings, and consequently, we'll have more opportunity to report substance to the community. The format will also encourage more interactions between presenters and attendees. There will be a keynote presentation at each EDC meeting, and at our January 9th meeting, which is going to be held at 99.1 The Ranch at the Town Center, our speaker will be Greg Hall from the Steel Wave. Greg will fill us in on the plans for the future of the Simi Valley Town Center. Following the keynote presentation, a series of speakers will have 2 to 3 minutes to share updates on how the entity that they represent is interacting with the community. We'll hear from the mayor, the city's Office of Economic Development, the city's tourism district, office and industrial space developers, Rancho Simi Recreation Park District, Simi Valley Unified School District, and entities like the Workforce Development Board and the Economic Development Collaborative. The goal of this new format is to increase attendees' ability to interact directly with service providers who may be helpful to them and their businesses. There will be opportunities for networking at the close of each meeting. Anyone who would like to speak at the EDC should contact me at the Chamber, and the Chamber will do its best to give everyone who is interested in speaking the opportunity to do so. There will be a table set at each EDC meeting to display brochures, business cards, flyers about any activity that contributes to the local economy. Anyone who wants to attend the EDC meeting is more than welcome, but we do ask that they register on the Chamber's website so that we can prepare for the meeting. If anyone has questions, they should contact me, Mary Beth Jacobson, at the Chamber office. Thank you very much for your time.
Kirk?
Alrighty. Thank you, Mayor Thomas and the City Council. My name is Kirk Heidinger, and I'm with Community Relations at Sci-Fi Networks. I'm joined by our project manager, Jeff Kaiser, and Jared Hill, who is with our general contractor, Aspire Communications. We are here to give an update on the Fiber City project. For those of you that are unaware, Sci-Fi Networks constructs and maintains fiber optic networks. Here in Simi Valley, we are constructing an open access network, a network that has multiple internet service providers on it. Currently, we have 2 on the network, Flume and Gigabit Now.
Thank you. We are pleased to announce that our network has now reached the live status and are currently serving customers with another 3,225 of confirmed pre-orders. Crews have installed 2.6 million feet of network infrastructure, which represents a little more than 71% of the total city footage. And if you're a resident located on the east side of town, there's a strong chance that you have received some marketing material by our 2 internet service providers, Gigabit Now and Flume Internet. Our next big push is going to be in January of 2025, which we will have the completion of several critical railroad crossings, which will allow for an additional 5,000 addresses to become serviceable, which is a big milestone, and we're very much looking forward to that accomplishment. We still have over 1 million feet of network to install, and Kirk and I are joined by our contractor, Aspire, who we have Jared Hill from their team with us.
Good evening. My name is Jared. I am the Director of Operations for Aspire Communications. We are the new general contractor in market, bringing proven experience and results in just a bit of time. We have successfully closed out 6 of the work zones and have completed over 800,000 linear feet of micro trenching. Our track record speaks for itself with a 100% success rate and providing 113 new customers that are now online and benefiting from our work. We are committed to building on this momentum as we move forward into the new year, continuing to improve on these numbers and maintaining our exceptional success rate with home installations. Aspire Communication is here to deliver reliable, high-speed, quality internet, and we look forward to partnering with the city to keep the momentum going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions, we'll be in the back.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The voice is back. I want to congratulate you on a great win and your new terms. I'm really looking forward to it and working with you all. Before I forget, I want to update you on the Santa Susana Field Laboratory. I participated in their Zoom meeting that the Department of Toxic Substances had, and then I attended their open house last week. They were all really engaging people. There's a lot going on. I can tell you, being over there, you can see just hundreds of trucks, literally hundreds of trucks in and out. And these trucks are hauling this waste all, to Idaho or something, a long way. From when they start here, they don't stop. So a lot's going on. Because of having run for mayor, they kind of lend me an ear. And I told them that the council was discussing that topic. And I said they'd love to get some input, some data from them. They invited us all to go and take a tour of the place if you'd like. I told them I'd make contact with them next year and we'll talk about it. After that, I wanted to give some thanks to one, having never run before, Lucy. Her patience and her grace made every trip a pleasure. I want to thank all of you for being so patient. And I want to thank you all for your public service, because without people like you, we wouldn't have this. People like the people on this board, our parks, our school board, we're proud of them all. And I'm proud of you guys. So, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next year. Thanks.
Doug Felbinger, followed by Joe Cosentino.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. My name's Doug Felbinger. I own the property to the west of an industrial project proposed for 861 East Cochran Street. Back in May, I let the city council know about the planning department and the city attorney's position that I was unable to scan plans of proposed projects without signing a document that would have perjured myself, namely that I was only using the plans for maintenance and operation of a building which didn't even exist. Now that the project's before the Planning Commission on Wednesday, the Planning Department has uploaded illegible plans to the agenda. What is going on with the Planning Department? Posting illegible plans is not uploading the plans. The community has the right to be involved in the planning process, but is not able to if the Planning Department isn't a good faith actor. I have an easement with rights of encroachment I purchased from the school district in 2017. I have title insurance on it. After dealing with this issue on the district industrial condos, I knew it would be an issue on this project, and I brought it up to the planner, Zarui, in March. Although I can't read the notes on the plans, I can see that the project violates my encroachment easement. The applicants want to take out parking spaces, plant large trees immediately next to my building, tear out a tree, remove part of my planter, and possibly other things I'm unaware of because the plans are so illegible. And you guys have a copy of the plans that I downloaded. I asked Zarui last week why no consideration was given to my encroachment rights, and her response was that it was a civil issue. Of course, this flippant, hostile response is ridiculous. I'm not able to do planning on someone else's property without their permission. I can't make an application to demo your house and construct a hotel. The planning department would ask for proof that I'm the owner of the property. Furthermore, it wouldn't be up to you to prove that to the planning department that you owned the property. The burden would be on the applicant. In this case, I own the trees, landscaping, and parking that the applicant is doing planning on. But in this case, the planner isn't even asking the question about ownership and doesn't want to hear from the rightful owner of the property. Instead, Zarui is saying, if you don't like it, take them to court. We aren't dealing with it. One of the primary purposes of government is the protection of private property rights, keeping bullies from stealing what doesn't belong to them. If the applicant just came over to my place with a chainsaw and cut down one of my trees, I could call SVPD and there'd be consequences. But here we have a situation where a planner is simply turning a blind eye to the applicant, cutting down my tree, and telling me I have to go to court for a remedy. The City Council and the Planning Commission are the interface between the bureaucracy and the citizens. It's important that this body advocate for the people in Simi Valley and not let the bureaucracy run roughshod over the community. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Joe Cosentino. My wife and I live in Friendly Village here in Simi Valley in a 220 unit mobile home park. I would like to address the council regarding the power outages in the west end of the valley. You may not realize the hardships that this causes our residents. 26 hours of no electricity for elderly people. Life-saving medical devices like oxygen. No lights, no heat, no hot water. Dead cell phones that you can't charge because you don't have electricity. Food is spoiled in the refrigerator that you have to replace on your limited income to replace it. It's ridiculous. These are just a few of the items that I'm approaching. Most of us can't afford to buy a generator while this power is out because we're on a fixed income. In closing, I would like to let everyone here close their eyes for a minute. Think about their parents or grandparents that have to put up with this situation. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last speaker. Next on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Felbinger, I'll make sure, I'm sure a lot of the other council members up here too will do so also, that we look into what's going on over there. So, because your statement was absolutely true. It's our job to make sure everything goes smoothly. As far as the power outages in the west end of town, yes, I understand your concern and your irritation, because it is very irritating to have your power out at any time, especially for these PSPSs, which really don't mean anything broke. It just means they decided to shut the power off. And, I have no problem telling Edison again my thoughts. So, thank you.
Councilmember Lister.
Thank you. Just quickly comments in the order. Mary Beth, thank you for being here with the chamber. Appreciate your efforts, and that will be, it is always worthwhile to attend that event, and appreciate the update. Our Sci-Fi Network people, thank you for being here. In fact, I was thinking it'd be nice to give you more than 3 minutes, so I certainly share with our city manager that we'd be happy to have you come and give us a fuller update. I happen to be one of those that is in your queue waiting to be powered up. And I was delighted to hear that you've worked out the railroad crossing situation, because last I heard, half of the city is not going to be served until that was worked out. So delighted to hear that that's changing. Mike, thank you for being such a good candidate, and being a good gentleman in the whole race, and your insights on Santa Susana Field Lab, and certainly visited there before, but I would be very enjoyable to go, very, very informative to go up and see the current efforts to remove the waste. My concern has always been that it not affect Simi Valley, but anyway, would very much appreciate your efforts there. And Doug, I concur with what Councilmember Judge had to say, that that is a problem, and if certainly we are here to represent our constituents, and so happy to look at it. In fact, my thought as you were speaking is that maybe I'd have a sidebar conversation later with our attorney, Al Ford, to find out exactly what responsibilities we have with that making it right. So we'll talk later. And Joe, yes, thank you for coming to express your frustration with power outages at Friendly Village. There are some areas of our city that are unduly affected by these PSPS events, and unfortunately, it sounds like you are in one of them. And I would also say to our city manager, let's maybe make special effort that. Basically, Edison, they're saying that they can do some segmented switching, and it sounds to me like this is one that needs to be elevated as a priority to see what we can be done, because that's not okay to have that tremendous effect. So those are my thoughts, and we'll keep going forward. Thank you again for being here and making your comments. Appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pretty much the same thing. But Mary Beth, at the chamber, we do have a county EDC, so it might be a good way to get together, because I sit on that board, to work a little bit more with the city. Kurt, it was wonderful with Sci-Fi, an update. I've had people ask me, and then I had heard that some things were a little behind, but it sounds like Aspire has caught us up, so that's really good. I can share that with people that have made comments, so thank you for sharing that. Mr. Shaw already left, but he's always great. I think he's going to be very involved in our community from now on. And Doug, yes, we will definitely look into that. I can see all of the problems there. And Mr. Cosentino, we need to do something there. A few years ago, when they kept shutting it off, we actually filed a complaint with the Public Utilities Commission, so it looks like we might have to do it again. Affecting a large senior mobile home park that long could have some very detrimental effects. So I think that's something we really, really need to look at. Okay, so we'll look into all that for you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may jump in?
Absolutely. Councilmember Rhodes.
Yeah, I'm not going to duplicate all of what my fellow council members said, but I'm in agreement with the thought. I did want to make a special shout out to Mr. Shaw. Politics can be a rough and strange business, especially on the national level. But at the local level, it's people like him that show grace and humility. And it was appreciated that he came and spoke tonight. I think that's what makes our community great. And yes, Mr. Feldinger, I think that all of us are going to ask for a report that brings us up to speed on your project. And that is my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Well, I'm not going to repeat all of that, although I am looking forward to getting fiber. I think I'm probably at the end of the list, though. I'm at the far west corner. Regarding the troubles you're having with the planning department, I guarantee you there's going to be 5 of us looking into that. So, and that's it.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar. And there is one resolution for your consideration this evening. Consent item 7, resolution number 2024-54. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving acceptance of grant funds and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from 2024 California State Parks Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Grant.
Mr. Mayor, if nobody wants to pull anything, I move consent.
Second.
I would like a quick conversation
Sure.
about item number 4.
4, okay.
But I certainly would concur with approving everything else.
Okay. Motion, everything before?
Sure, everything but 4.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Litzter?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Councilmember Lister, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Fujiwaki. I had a side-by conversation with him earlier today about this, but I'd love to ask a couple more questions from the dais. Basically, if I understand this correctly, we have a contract for engineering services for our waterworks projects, and basically, we originally passed 2 contracts for service for $500,000 each, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. The original contracts were
For 5. And I guess I was just quite surprised at the size of the amendment. Basically, it's 1.2 million for each of them, and for the next 5 years, not to exceed 1.9 million. And I guess just because it seemed like twice or 2 or 3 times the size of the original contract, is that customary to without having to go back for another bid? It's felt unusual that we would have it of such size.
I believe it's a little bit higher only because the contract extends out to 2029. So we have put enough money into the contract for the next 4 or 5 years. And this is a not to exceed amount. So when projects come up, and there are several projects that Waterworks plans to construct in the next 5 years, these on-call consultants are available without needing to come back each time to the council. So that is the reason for the perhaps a little bit higher than normal contract extension.
And were they initially, it was an open bid process that procured these consultants in the first place?
Yes, I believe so.
So is there a threshold at which it's that we have to go back out for bid that I'm not aware of? Is there a threshold that?
If it's projects yet to be determined, I don't know how you would go out to bid with something that we don't even know what the project is.
I don't believe there's a maximum in terms of the contract amount. Obviously, we're not going to spend any more than that, but we will typically go back out with an RFP for consulting services after the contract ends or just before the contract ends. In this case, the contract was initially, I believe it was 5 years with two-year extensions, and we just requested the council extend it out.
So these are the two-year extensions lumped as 4, is that?
Yes.
Got it, okay. Okay, I'm just trying to understand, maybe because it was the amount that.
Yeah, good question.
But clearly you must be pleased with their performance, or we wouldn't be doing this, so. Okay, very good. I'm willing to go ahead and move.
Go ahead and make a motion, please.
I'll move that we approve item 4.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Litzter?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9A, consideration of forming an ad hoc committee focused on serving the city's unhoused population. And Deputy Environmental Services Director Mara Mulch is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. At its November 4th meeting, the City Council requested a discussion to consider forming an ad hoc committee focused on serving the city's unhoused population. In order to assist in facilitating that discussion, up on the screen are possible goals to help focus the work of a potential ad hoc committee. It is suggested that the committee, 1, identify housing solutions to be pursued. I will provide a summary of the housing solutions on the next slide. 2, work with city staff to identify viable locations that meet zoning and don't pose other barriers to development. 3, collaborate with Continuum of Care and County Chief Executive Officer staff positions designated specifically to work with funding, housing development, and homeless solutions to further evaluate possible options that are most likely to be competitive for ongoing funding support. And 4, the prior steps will lay the foundation for discussions on next steps with community partners and what city support may be available. What may not be commonly known is that various shelter and housing types are defined by law. As shown, emergency shelter is limited to 180 days, transitional housing from 6 to 24 months, and permanent supportive housing, or PSH, is unlimited with intensive services attached. Emergency shelter can be provided in a number of ways: a traditional shelter with minimal services, a sleep site, motel vouchers, and the current best practice, which is co-locating a shelter with a navigation center focused with intensive services to place each of the occupants in temporary or permanent housing. Individuals in emergency shelter and transitional housing who are not paying rent are still considered homeless, although they are counted in the annual point-in-time count as sheltered homeless. Transitional housing and PSH are provided through standard housing units and at times may involve master leasing, where a provider rents a home or apartment building and then subleases to its clients. That concludes the report, and staff is requesting direction on the formation of an ad hoc committee, selection of 2 council members to serve on such committee, or other direction. And that concludes the report, and staff is available for questions.
Councilmember Judge.
Yes, we had a homeless task force for a long time that really didn't do a whole bunch. It took up a lot of staff's time. So I'm kind of curious as why we're going to try and do this again.
This item was requested by Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes. Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, did you want to speak to your request?
Yes, I would. Thank you. And I don't think it's Mayor Pro Tem anymore, just saying.
My mistake.
So thank you for bringing this report to council. I did request for it. My intent for the ad hoc committee to be made up of a couple council members was to explore the option of transitional housing and units located in Simi. So this would include finding alternatives for location, quantity, management, and funding. The end work product of the ad hoc would be a business plan draft of recommendations that could be considered by the council and then given to staff with direction. At the presentation to council, a discussion to be had about both what is possible as well as our desire to have something local or to continue to rely on the county system. So I would visualize the end of the product, have suggestions for 1, startup funding, 2, ongoing funding and partnerships, 3, possible locations, 4, types of housing units, 5, management structure and service providers, 6, an overview of why that service is needed and analysis of what the county already offers to meet the needs of our homeless. But further specific context on the ask for an ad hoc, I had had the opportunity to tour a facility run by Dignity Moves in Santa Barbara, and that group is already in discussions with our Samaritan Center. I want our council to be embedded in those discussions earlier rather than later. A true ad hoc of council will allow for direct access to staff, county outreach, and information gathering from existing service providers. It's also my opinion that for a long time, the city has held a preference towards outsourcing to the county, and I want to test that position and see if it's the best way to work towards solving homelessness in Simi. Information forthcoming from the city has been difficult, perhaps embodied by the staff report being intentionally overthought and having a committee that allows the council to steer more nimbly. It is well worth the effort to have a council steer the conversation for a bit, since it feels there are no productive and fruitful conversations, as you just mentioned, Councilmember Judge, happening to deal with the issue. And with that, I would ask support from the council to stand up the ad hoc and look for another one of us to join that effort.
Well, I did visit the same location that you mentioned. I was actually really impressed. I know that when they originally tried to do it in Santa Barbara, there was a lot of pushback from the business community. They didn't want it. So it was going to be located downtown. And once it was built, the local businesses were the biggest supporters of it because it had done such a good job of, cleaning up a lot of what they were seeing from the homeless. So I think it's certainly worth looking at. I support an ad hoc committee. I think I don't want to, make it a staff obligation only. I think this needs to be, we need to get a committee that includes people from some of the organizations that support the homeless, as well as staff, as well as members of the council, and just try to think outside the box and what would work in Simi.
If I can ask Deputy Director Mulch to speak to the homelessness task force and the current status of that and the makeup of it.
Sure.
So by council direction, the task force was dissolved because the initial task force was started in 1999 to advocate for county services to better serve East County. So that was the original intent and purpose. And over time, due to the continuum of care being structured in a more formal capacity, because it started with a number of service providers participating informally, and then with additional guidance through HUD and the federal government, it became a more formal governance board for awarding both state and local funding. That the task force here in Simi Valley became more of an information sharing rather than a task force with a defined goal and purpose. So as a result of the dissolution of the task force, it was council direction to focus on doing community resource sharing, which often was happening in a Brown Acted meeting that didn't allow for the dialogue and the interaction among the providers and those that were interested in the services available. And then additionally, there's been a number of iterations of connection of services with those that interact with the homeless population, primarily our police department that currently has a ongoing contract with Ventura County Behavioral Health for a full-time county individual to engage with them for vulnerable populations, who also goes out and does backpack medicine with the Samaritan Center and engages the community that way. With regards to, I just want to clarify one thing, because what I think is being asked for is actually considered emergency shelter, not transitional housing. So transitional housing, the only difference between a standard apartment and transitional housing is that there's a time clock on your stay, that it's meant to be kind of a foot into a traditional living environment with supportive services attached, and then you move on to permanent housing in some way, shape, or form. My familiarity with Dignity Moves and the Samaritan Center's conversations with them has been focused on the model that is considered emergency shelter. And as the report noted, that there is a lack of overall ongoing funding coming from the state and federal government in that regard. So I just wanted to clear that up in terms of focus and perspective, not to say that we have to go one way or the other, just to kind of make sure that we're all using the common vernacular and talking about the same housing types and the same types of funding that are available for those housing types.
I'll also make one other follow-up. If this is going to be a true ad hoc, it wouldn't be allowed to have staff members on it. It would only be allowed to compose less than a quorum of the legislative body. So if we wanted it to include staff or community members, it would change into a standing committee and have to comply with the Brown Act.
And that was my intent, is that it was an ad hoc where we would draw information from staff and from other entities outside of the city as needed to formulate our report.
I'd like to ask a question if I could. Mayor?
Are you suggesting that the ad hoc committee would just be 2 council members, nobody else?
Yes, so not that there's no one else involved in the conversation, but that as a standing committee, as council just pointed out, you can only have 2 of the, or less than a quorum of the electeds on it to start asking the questions, but then we would be the ones driving, getting the answers from those that have the information, but they would not be members of a committee.
So it is akin to what we're doing with the, right at the moment, with the amphitheater ad hoc committee. Mayor, may I ask just a question of staff about, a point of understanding?
Please
I understand that, does the state advocate or require the housing first model if you do any type of these of transitional or emergency shelter, et cetera?
Yes, to clarify, the Housing First model is driven by the federal government. It started sometime in the second Bush administration, is my recollection. However, the state of California has adopted that as well. So all federal and all state funding would require Housing First to be followed in California. Other states have chosen to not impose that for their state funding.
And just to clarify, Housing First, at least, and I too had that privilege of touring the Dignity Moves, the project in Santa Barbara. And Housing First basically would be that you house regardless of substance abuse or any other things that might be going on. That cannot be a requirement for housing, basically, to meet, to be not using substances, et cetera. So I wanted to clarify, because that complicates things in my mind a little bit, but it just...
Is that correct? Because in Santa Barbara, they do not allow drug use.
So it's kind of a layered response. So Housing First is a philosophy that if you meet someone where they are and place them in housing, you'll stabilize the other circumstances that are affecting barriers to them being able to be self-sustaining. So it's a lot easier to get sober if you're in a house than if you're on the street. So that's the general concept. When it comes to compliance with Housing First, you cannot require drug tests and sobriety. You can prohibit the drug use on site, but if someone comes home intoxicated or has the effects, you can deal with symptoms of of substance use, but you can't prohibit and prevent it from the individual in terms of them accessing the shelter or the housing unit based upon their sobriety status. It also has to do with not being compliant with mental health services and other things. So you basically can't force anyone to engage in any level of services, that you are providing a shelter and meeting them where they're at, and that you'll be ready to provide services when they are. But accessing services and improving their condition is not a condition of accessing shelter. And Housing First can be quite a controversial topic in terms of major metro areas such as San Francisco and others are now grappling with the impacts of employing the Housing First and looking at alternatives. But as of right now, it is required for both state and federal funding in the state of California.
And since we're having this conversation, I have another question that I want to understand. And this is actually an offshoot from a conversation I had just last week when I was at the Rancho Simi Park installation, but with a couple of people there who actually are part of the Veterans Foundation, Simi Valley Veterans Foundation. They were discussing what some of their objectives or desires were, and the topic was, well, maybe we should pivot and talk about veterans, homeless veteran housing. That was just the conversation that occurred there. And I do recall also a year ago when Chief Shorts was asked about his thought about some type of housing for homeless, et cetera. He had a very interesting response, a very specific response, as I recall. He said, if you're going to do something, I would maybe consider beginning with housing or helping senior citizen homeless. So given those two conversations resonating in my mind, when you put together transitional housing or emergency shelter, et cetera, can you stipulate that it be only for a certain age or for a certain classification like veteran, et cetera? Can we as a city stipulate? I just want to understand that a little better.
Yes, so through the funding mechanisms, projects can be proposed for targeted populations as long as there's a demonstrated need that population still has an unmet need. With regards to veterans homelessness within the county of Ventura, with the most recent project, and the project is failing to come to mind, but in West County, we're going to be at a functional zero veterans homelessness in Ventura County because there are enough units to house all the veterans that have been identified through our annual point in time count throughout the county. With regards to when you start to target individual populations, there's pros and there's cons. The pros are that you're co-locating individuals who have like needs, so you can do concentration of services and continuity of living conditions and things of that nature, so you have a more harmonious living environment. However, there have been times where housing units have come online. For example, there was a project out in Oxnard that was for veteran families, and they couldn't lease it up to veteran families, so they had to come back and amend the project to broaden who could live there. So there's I don't want to say a danger, but there's the opportunity for units to go unfilled because we may not have the demand for that type of project at the moment in time it comes online. So that's one of the challenges of doing a designated population. I hope that speaks to your question.
Thank you, Tess.
I know we have one council member that's interested in participating in this. Is anyone else interested? I feel like we need two to have a committee.
Mayor, are you interested in being in that? I realize I'm serving with Mr. Rhodes right now on the amphitheater ad hoc committee, and so I'm feeling like it needs to be.
I'll meet with Rocky. I'm willing to do it if you guys are okay with it.
And I'll add one other thing. It just has to be less than the quorum of a legislative body.
Yep.
So that can include planning commission or other commissions or bodies within the organization if that's something you wanted to consider.
So if I'm understanding, you're saying that if we say, yes, we authorize an ad hoc committee to go forward, it could be the mayor and Mr. Rhodes, or it could be Mr. John Tolson or Alan Mann.
Well, since we don't sit on the planning commission, could we have a planning commissioner join the two of us? Or you're s-
That is correct.
Right, okay.
got it. Okay.
Because that might be handy at some point in time.
Correct.
Yeah,
Got
okay, that's good. All right.
So if you are sure you're willing, Mayor, then I would move that we do form an ad hoc committee for this further discussion for this purpose, consisting of Mayor Fred Thomas and Councilmember Rocky Rhodes.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Rhodes,
Yes.
Councilmember Lister,
Yes.
Councilmember Judge,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, next on the agenda is item 9B. Receive and file the fiscal year 2023-24 Simi Valley Public Library Annual Report, and Deputy Community Services Director Anna Medina is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Each year, staff works with the City Library Services provider, Library Systems and Services, to provide an annual report to the Library Board, which includes information on library usage trends throughout the year, and an update on how the efforts of library and city staff are supporting the strategic plan's priority areas. This evening, I am pleased to introduce Assistant Library Director Stephanie Irby to present the library's annual report for fiscal year 2023-24.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Thank you for having me. My name is Stephanie Irby, and I am the Assistant Library Director at the Simi Valley Public Library. It is my pleasure to present the Simi Valley Public Library's annual report for fiscal year 2023-24. This year, Library Systems and Services, LS&S, transitioned the annual report to a web-based format to make it more accessible and engaging for members of the community. This report highlights how library and city staff are supporting the strategic plan's priority areas to build community, connect and increase access, enhance services, and build awareness. Telling the library's story in this manner offers a picture of the modernized services that the Simi Valley Public Library seeks to provide. The Simi Valley Public Library is a community hub that improves the quality of life for Simi Valley residents. In fiscal year 2023-24, the library provided 3,010 service hours, experienced 154,682 visits, increased library card holders by 4,528 for a total of 36,448, and processed 329,309 books and 67,100 digital items for borrowers. The library's business center and community room are reserved regularly by the community for job interviews, study groups, club meetings, and much more. The library, in partnership with Sci-Fi Networks, who provided donations for furnishings and technology, and the Rotary Club of Simi Sunrise, who provided fresh carpeting, were able to create a dedicated room for the launch of adult literacy services. This year, the library also prioritized expanding services out into the community with the launch of mobile library services. Although the mobile library van wasn't in service at the time, staff were still able to provide library services to various age groups by scheduling pop-ups at schools, senior living facilities, the free clinic, and other community events. In addition, the library successfully launched a literacy program to bring one-on-one literacy instruction and coaching and English as a second language services to our community. With the addition of 2 literacy coordinators, Julie Wong and Valentina Guevara, they were able to pair the learners and tutors to help local adults meet their reading and English conversation goals. Adult learners engaged in 73 hours of one-on-one tutoring between February and June, and 111 hours of volunteer training and service were completed for the program. Improved literacy empowers adults to reach their aspirations, which has a positive impact on their and their families' futures. This year, the library increased community awareness of library programs and resources through Facebook and Instagram. The impact of increased social engagement can be seen in the success of library programs. The library provided 651 programs such as baby story times, teen escape rooms, and senior fitness to meet the diverse needs and interests of the community. A total of 16,336 patrons attended these programs, including 3,255 Storytime attendees, with Baby Storytime doubling attendance throughout the year. Some program highlights from this past year include a partnership with the Simi Valley Unified School District librarians and teachers who invited their students and families to meet them at the library for a special evening that included a library tour and fun activities. Students also got their first library card. This has been a great introductory program for families in our community to connect with the library. We also hosted the second annual Simi Valley Unified School District Librarians Open House to honor the work that they do, build relationships, and answer any questions they might have about library programs and resources. Youth interested in journalism can join the newspaper club to create and publish content of interest to Simi Valley teens. Also, the Teen Advisory Group Craft Program highlights how teens in our community are getting involved to shape library programming and develop their leadership and professional skills. In December, library patrons can wrap donated books for families in need. The wrapped books are then distributed to local organizations such as Sarah's House and the Samaritan Center. The job fair is held every year in partnership with Youth Employment Services and Youth Council. This annual program brings employers and job seekers together to meet both needs in our community. This year, a total of 350 attended the event. In partnership with Seroptimist of Simi Valley, the library was able to host a presentation by historical researcher Kristen Gunnell for Women's History Month. Many of our programs and outreach are made possible thanks to the hard work of library volunteers who provided 9,988 work hours in the gardens, at programs, the bookstore, and more. Community leaders inspired children to read by sharing their favorite books and facilitating activities at our Read Across America program. This year's event included original cast members from the Little House on the Prairie who were in Simi Valley to celebrate their show's 50th anniversary. In addition, the Library Unlimited program is a monthly program for adults with adaptive needs who enjoy themed activities and receive personalized assistance finding books and DVDs. The library supports community learning through literacy-related programming, early story times, adult learners assistance, career workshops, and STEAM-related programs. Children become lifelong learners when family is involved. The early learning programs at the library empower parents and caregivers. The library offers 4 story times every week, and this year, weekly average storytime attendance grew by 60%. Another popular program is Children's Chess Club, which was the fastest growing program for those between the ages of 7 to 12. Chess helps develop critical thinking skills and improve academic performance. The library offered 6 escape room programs for children and teens this year. More than 340 participated, gaining new skills in team problem solving. The library partnered with the Youth Employment Services throughout the year to host workshops in financial literacy, job and interview skills, and college entrance preparations assistance. Over the years, it has become evident that teens need a quiet space to study or gather to complete group assignments. To meet this need, the library hosts final exams cafe sessions in May and December to support teens preparing for finals and AP exams. This year, the library had 500 Meet Me at the Library attendees, 1,572 Reading Challenge participants, and 184 hours of adult literacy and English language instruction. This year, a clear vision for revitalizing the library arose from the growth of programs, expansion of services, and competing needs for quiet and gathering spaces. The Simi Valley Library Foundation is excited to connect with community members interested in helping invest in the library and the impact it will have on future generations. The library has several community partners who provide invaluable support and who make the services the library delivers possible. The Library Board of Trustees, who provide oversight and support for the Simi Valley Public Library. The board's commitment to meeting community needs through library services and its vision for the future are fundamental to the operation of the library. The Friends of the Library have been a part of the community for more than 50 years, helping support the library with supplementary funds. This year, the Friends brought the annual Family Book Festival back to Simi Valley, a wonderful treat for families and children of all ages. The Busy Hands Garden Club maintains the library's rose garden. This year, trellis roses were added to the rose garden. And the Simi Valley Library Foundation, who began raising funds to revitalize the library's building as a destination spot where the community can gather for inspiration and exploration. This year, the board planned fundraising strategies to include gala events, naming opportunities, and planned giving. This concludes the presentation, and staff is available to answer any questions you might have.
Councilmember Litster?
Thank you for that lovely report. In fact, as you were going through, I was just checking some personal involvement. I had a young adult son, found a great job thanks to last minute attending the youth employment gathering. And my granddaughter, who was up here taking pictures, absolutely loved making the rag dolls that were part of the fun activity with Read Across America. So anyway, it is very loved what is done at the library. But my questions really have to do with your last commentary, which is about the new library foundation that we have that are raising funds, I believe, to remodel, revitalize. My question is, I know originally there were some architectural plans being discussed, et cetera, but right now, because we don't own, the county owns the building, are we discussing, are those plans going forward, or do we need to, are they on pause as we wait to see how that shakes out?
They're on pause.
They are on pause for that reason, is that?
There are a few reasons, but that is one of the reasons.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to commend their efforts and don't want them to be discouraged, because I think much needs to be done to that beautiful facility to make it what it could be. And so I appreciate the report, but I just wanted to understand, I don't want their efforts to feel like they're in vain. And I'm glad to know, though, that they may be on pause, but there's conversation about how to go forward, I hope. Okay.
We certainly recognize the need to improve the facility. Because the city does not own the facility, there are concerns related to the expenditure of funds to do so. And the current cost anticipated to improve the facility is currently outside of the reach of the funds available. So there's multiple factors at play.
Fair enough. One other last question. I understand we now have a active bookmobile that is part of the library scene. I wondered if you want to just take a minute to speak to that, but thank you.
Yeah, we now have a mobile van that is actively going out into the community. We have regular stops weekly to senior living facilities, school sites, food pantries, things like that. So it's very active now.
Delighted that we have that, but thank you for all your efforts, Stephanie.
They were at the Metrolink Holiday Express, and my grandson got his first library card. He was very excited and took out a Dr. Seuss book.
Woohoo.
There will be a formal introduction of the bookmobile to the community in early 2025.
Perfect.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember
If I may?
Rhodes?
Yes, so I was going to ask the same question that Councilwoman Lister asked, but I did want to commend the online annual report. The link from my staff report didn't work, so I actually went to the website, and it was wonderful to download didn't even have to download, just read the annual report online, and I think that that's a great way that you could also keep information updated on what's going on, and easy repository for information. So thank you for that innovation.
Thank you.
Well, I have participated in the Read Across America. Of course, the highlight of that is Councilmember Rhodes' reading, as well as...
I want to point out that I did get a picture in the annual report because of that reading, I'm pretty sure.
But I've also had a chance to get a tour with the director. And I got to tell you, I was impressed with the passion that staff over there applies to the job that they do and the services they provide. So it's a great organization. Thank you. Is there? Is there?
I move to receive and file the Simi Valley Public Library Annual Report for fiscal year 2023-24.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Lister?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Here.
The
Yes.
motion passes unanimously.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9C, request for direction regarding the establishment of a residential preferential permit parking program. And Public Works Director Ron Fuchwaki is presenting this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. As the city clerk said, this evening, staff is seeking city council direction regarding the establishment of a residential preferential permit parking program. Preferential permit parking programs generally restrict on-street parking along residential streets to local residents and their guests. Typically, preferential parking zones are established along residential streets where on-street parking is impacted by overflow parking from adjacent businesses, neighborhood schools, or parks. Preferential parking enables the resident a better opportunity to find on-street parking for themselves, their family members, or their guests if current parking conditions are adversely impacted by non-resident parkers. A preferential parking program is typically established by an ordinance that includes the criteria for establishing the parking program and rules and other rules and regulations. Typically, to initiate a request for preferential parking, process includes a requirement for a petition from residents along the street who are interested in preferential parking, and would need to include the approval of a certain percentage of the homes requesting to establish the parking zone. And that ranges any place from, I've seen 50% up to 75%. Individual parking zones, detailed rules and regulations, costs of permits, rules for guest or visitor parking, parking violation fee schedule, etc., could also be established by ordinance or resolution. Several cities have preferential parking programs, including Los Angeles, Glendale, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, and Calabasas. Briefly, the process to establish preferential parking starts with the receipt of a qualifying petition. Then city staff would conduct parking studies to determine if on-street parking is adversely impacted by non-resident vehicles. If the location satisfies the criteria to establish a parking zone, the proposed parking zone is presented to the City Council for consideration. If the City Council approves the establishment of the parking zone, the city will install parking signs along the street, and staff will sell permits and maintain appropriate records of names and permit holders, addresses, etc. Parking for enforcement would be the responsibility of the police department. However, current staffing levels would not allow for proactive parking enforcement, including regular route patrol of parking zones. Preferential parking program would also involve staff from the police department, in addition to the police department, Public Works and Administrative Services for program administration. Depending on the demand for parking permits, the expectation of enforcement, the city may likely need to enhance staffing. It is difficult to predict the demand for preferential parking throughout the city, so the need for enhanced resources and associated costs cannot be estimated at this time. However, staff is unaware of any complaints from residential neighborhoods about non-resident parkers along their streets. In closing, staff requests City Council direction regarding the establishment of a preferential parking program for Simi Valley. That concludes our report, and we're available for questions.
Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, I've been asking for this for a while, and I like staff's report. I do like the creativity of asking the neighborhood first if they need the parking permits. I think that's a great idea, and so I'm completely in support of this. Again, we don't have, like he said, we don't have complaints yet, but with the rate we're going with our state legislature and the way they allow certain developers to bypass all rules and regulations when it comes to putting certain things in apartment buildings. I think this is something very important for our city to have.
I believe we have a project that's about to go online that may be our first instance where there might be interest in that. But I think it's well thought out, the way you presented it.
Yeah, the Tapa Alamo project, is that what you're talking?
I knew you knew what I was talking about.
Mr. Mayor, if
Councilmember
I can.
Rhodes.
Thank you. Like Councilman Judge, I was wondering how we were going to pull this off, and the fact that you could actually just, we can direct staff to set up the infrastructure so that there's a process for neighborhoods to do this. I think it's an outstanding way to go. It's the showing that we as the city are prepared for what will obviously be a problem at some point in the future. We just don't know when that point is. So I would love to set staff on the direction of getting us available for a petition process.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I also agree with both council members. With the addition of a lot of multifamily housing, there are concerns. And so if we have something in place, similar to what you've already discussed here, it would be great, because then it is up to the community itself to do something about it and to get the buy-in of all the neighbors. So it's not us saying you have to do this, it's them saying we want to do this. So I think that's a big positive. So thank you, staff. It was great.
Councilmember Lister.
So, and I concur with this conversation, I just want to understand the process. So, and the report was excellent, and you gave examples of West Hollywood and Santa Monica, I think were the two. And then you also gave us the code from transportation, is that gives us the authority to do it? Was that kind of?
We provided the 3 ordinances from the 3 cities, Santa Monica, Calabasas, and West Hollywood.
Okay, I'm sorry, Calabasas. Thank you. I missed the Calabasas in that conversation. I thought maybe that was another source. So, and one of my questions was, is there a city yet in Ventura County that has done this? Calabasas is kind of, well.
I understand Oxnard and Ventura have some form of parking programs similar to this.
Okay. And so what our vote tonight would be basically that for staff to go back and come and draft ordinance that would be on the books that would allow communities to, or neighborhoods to come forward. Is that my understanding of what we would be doing tonight?
Yeah, that would probably be the first step, is to ask the city attorney, and we'd gladly work with them to draft up an enabling ordinance such that all the program criteria, et cetera, are in place should a residential neighborhood request preferential parking. And perhaps, hopefully, we provided 3 relatively similar ordinances, so
he can pick one and go.
Hopefully we can just plagiarize them or something like that.
And one more question, logistics. A neighborhood, who prescribes, or who basically puts the boundaries on the ad? Is it the neighbors themselves saying, that would come forward and say, from this road, from this street to this street? Is that they have to? I mean, is that how that works? They would have to get together and petition?
Well, they would have to show that which areas are being impacted. They can't just randomly pick.
But I guess my question is, do we assist them with that process, or does it have to be, is it completely neighborhood driven?
The way I envision this is you're going to have people coming to you saying, there's people parking in my neighborhood, what can I do about it? And you'll tell them, you can go down and get 50% or 60% of your neighbors to sign a petition, and if you get it signed, city council will review it.
Got it. Okay, and so they would have to say this block from here to here or whatever. Yeah.
I think there's 2 ways. One is that individual streets can probably approach the city about preferential parking on their street, and/or the city, in conjunction with other neighborhoods, establish a zone of a block or something of several streets. And when petitions are received from each of the different streets, and they may not want it, but as they're received, it's a simpler, easier process to move forward with zone establishment, so.
All right, does someone want to make a motion?
I will. I move to direct staff to establish a preferential parking program for the city of Simi Valley.
Second.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Lister?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Tuesday, December 3rd, I attended a Cal Cities webinar, which is about the new laws impacting cities. And the Cal Cities lobbying team reviewed good, bad, and ugly things passed in Sacramento that affect how we run our cities. I had to skip a bit to take a community economic and human development Zoom prep call. And I also had a Zoom call that day with the Clean Power Alliance to review 2 contracts that we would be voting on that week, where I could see behind the redactions and the negotiated terms. And then lastly, same day, I attended a retirement party for Officer Tom Meyer, who is truly a Simi Valley person of service with his entire career here in the city. Congrats, Tom. On Wednesday, December 4th, I had a travel day to China, where with the time zone changes, I arrived at what was early Thursday morning, the 5th here. And from a notice location in Shanghai, I was able to zoom into my 4 meetings of the day, which started at 1 a.m. and ended at 8 a.m. The first was the SCAG executive admin committee meeting, where we learned the final report of the REAP 1.0 program, which was awarded $47 million to help cities plan for zoning for housing, as well as work with RENA allocations. The next was the CEHD committee, for which I am the vice chair. We had an informational item about REAP 1.0, but it was far more in depth of how the money was used to benefit the allocations. We received 4 updates from program leaders whose projects were funded through the REAP 1.0 and the successes they have had and how they would build on those successes. The third meeting was the SCAG Regional Council meeting, where we had an excellent panel of economists that explained the economic outlook for California. And my last Zoom call that day was to the Clean Power Alliance, where we voted on 2 contracts that I'd learned about in my above referenced Zoom. And we also discussed the fact that Clean Power Alliance consumers are currently paying a bit more for electricity than Edison and will possibly be in that situation for the rest of the year. And I spent the rest of my time here in Shanghai, and that's the end of my report.
Councilmember Lister.
Thank you, Mayor. On Tuesday, December 3rd, I too attended the retirement celebration for Officer Tom Meyer and appreciate all his great service to our community. Wednesday, December 4th, I had the fun of attending the holiday employee luncheon held here at City Hall. What fun, what good food. Actually, the most fun was talking with everyone. I will say we have some great staff and employees that are doing good things. Thank you for planning that fun event. On Thursday, December the 5th, I too attended a SCAG meeting, remotely Energy and the Environment. It was informational purpose. On Friday, December 6th, I had the privilege of attending the Boys and Girls fundraising breakfast, Boys and Girls Club, and appreciate all their efforts in our community and what they're doing for our youth. Great things. I believe the mayor was there as well. That whole weekend, I was very involved with Simi Community Christmas, which was a wonderful gathering held up at the LDS Church on Sinaloa, but there were congregations from all over that participated, and the schools came and performed, and it was just a lovely Christmas celebration that took place that weekend. On Monday, December 9th, I had the privilege of attending the Council on Aging, where we had an excellent presentation about the status of our road improvements, and Appreciate that presentation by the city. On Tuesday, December the 10th, I did have the fun of attending the Board of Supervisors meeting that was held here in this chamber. In fact, as I understand, this is the first time that they have held the meeting here in our chamber. And it was good for them to travel our direction to see what happens in the East Valley. I was a bit amused that they had to start their meeting an hour later because of the travel to come this far east in the county, but I digress. But it was a good meeting. I'm glad that they were here, and they're welcome back anytime. And the mayor also was great with his welcome. That evening, I attended the City of Thousand Oaks annual reorganization meeting, and on behalf of our city, presented certificates to Al Adam, who is the outgoing mayor of Thousand Oaks, who was reelected to continue on the city council. Then also gave a certificate to thank Kevin McNamee for his 4 years of service in Thousand Oaks, and he was actually will not be returning, but he was, but thanked him for his efforts. He was one that always liked to share what Thousand Oaks was doing and what we should be doing. So it was good to thank him. On Wednesday, December 11th, had the fun with with Mayor Pro Tem Dee Dee Kavanaugh to attend the Rancho Simi Recreation Reorganization meeting. Would like to offer publicly congratulations to Eric Lundstrom and Kimberly Cofield, who are the new Rancho Simi, what's that? Are they trustees? Directors. They're not trustees, they're not directors, they're directors. But really, it was also an opportunity to thank Elaine Freeman and Director Kate O'Brien, who have served our community wonderfully for in Kate's case, it was 24 years. Elaine's, it was 22 years. Certainly some wonderful longevity in helping to build our beautiful park system. So thank you to both of those outstanding women who are pioneers in our community. On Thursday, December 12th, I stopped in on the Holiday Heroes and Helpers shopping event that was put on by our Simi Valley Police Department and in conjunction with others. What a great event that is to help, to basically allow some of our young people in our community to have the opportunity to do some Christmas shopping. It was really beautifully done, so I want to thank those who were involved with that. I stopped in thinking I was going to help in some capacity, and basically Janet Segi said, well, you know, what we really need is music. What we really need is harp music, and I happened to have my harp in the car since I had played for a funeral earlier that day, and so I thought, okay, if that is really the need, I'll see what I can do. And so that was my little contribution to that event. Also met with our city manager on that day. Appreciate that time with her. On Friday, December 13th, I attended the Simi Valley Ed Foundation Teacher of the Month, where Gary Reinstein from Santa Susana High School was acknowledged, and I want to just speak to him. What an amazing man who was taught for many years at that high school. This is the year that he's retiring, and he is a calculus economics teacher, and I learned that he is only one of 3 high schools in the country that offers third-year calculus. So I was dutifully impressed and appreciate his efforts to educate our youth. That was the 13th. On December the 14th, I had the fun of attending the Metrolink Holiday Train event where our Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh was riding the train. I was outside with the orchestra feting the guests that were boarding the train, and it was looked like it was a fun, festive experience. And then I just have to say, later that afternoon, this is not a city event, but I had the privilege of conducting a harp extravaganza where we had 30 harpists that gathered at the Huntington Hospital in Burbank, and it was quite the spectacle. And again, I think I referenced earlier conversation, but today it was thank you to our police who gave a presentation of the drone capabilities that what we have and what is going forward, that the council recently passed funding for that program, and they are putting it to amazing use. And it was great to also see some of the new equipment that is ready to go. And so we thank you, Chief. We know that we are in good hands, and you're doing great things. And happy happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all on the same day, December 25th this year. It's, anyway, much cause to celebrate in our community, but thank you. I want to say thank you, though, to those who are working tirelessly to be sure that everyone can celebrate, even those who are feeling food insecurity and a variety of things in our community. There are many people doing much to make sure this is a good time for all. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Judge?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My calendar will be brief. On Thursday, December 5th, I attended the Skag Regional Council, the Executive Board, and the Transportation Committee meetings. Not too much of a direct effect to Ventura County or Simi Valley from those meetings, although I do agree with Councilmember Rhodes that the economic outlook on the state of California was very interesting, and it put Ventura in a much better light than I've heard from before, so that was a good thing. On Friday, December 6th, I attended a VCTC meeting. Again, nothing really specific for Simi Valley coming out of that. I shared with you all the Caltrans reports, and I did thank Caltrans for the work being done on our overpasses and the speed in which they did it. From that day on, I was out of state visiting family in Alabama. It was a very nice ride, except flying on December 13th is always weird for me. Friday the 13th, I should say. And that's the end of my report.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On December 2nd, before the meeting, I met with the Los Canyons developer and to get an update since it's in my district, and they will be reaching out to the neighborhood council, especially in District 1, to give them an idea of where they're at and what they're doing, because they've started work up there, minor stuff, but people have stopped by, so they wanted to make sure that we were aware of what's going on and keep the community informed. So I said, thank you very much. On Wednesday, December 4th, we had our executive meeting for the EDC. And let's skip down to, as Councilmember Litzer stated, we went to the RSRPD reorganization. Having served on that board for 6 years with Kate and Elaine, it's a big loss to lose their experience, their background, their knowledge. But good luck to the new members. They seem very energetic and excited to become a part of that, and so I'm looking forward to what they do in the future. In fact, Elaine is being recognized with the Legacy Award for 2024 from our Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce in July. So that's a very special thing for her. So I'm very happy for her.
Elaine Freeman. Al's looking at me. I just want to make sure.
Oh, sorry, Elaine Freeman.
Yes, I just want, he's looking at, smiling at me and like to congratulate. I want to make sure this is the original Elaine Freeman.
Yeah, Elaine Freeman. So yeah, she's good. And on December 14th, I did, along with my family, my 2 grandsons, my daughter and favorite son-in-law, and my exchange student, Maria, attended the Metrolink holiday train. But I have to tell you this, last year it was sold out before I even thought about it. This year I watched it every single day. It kept saying tickets will be on sale soon, never gave a date. Then all of a sudden on the 4th, they'll be available, November 4th. I woke up at 45 minutes after midnight on November 4th and bought my tickets. So wanted to make sure I got them, but it was very, very well worth it. It's very well ran. What's really great is there are vendors and such before the train. Our library van was there along with people, and that's where my grandson got his library card, as well as the City of Simi and our neighborhood coordinator. What's his name? I'm sorry. The head of our neighborhood council. Kelly. Yes, Kelly was there. It was wonderful. I sat and talked with him for a little while. And it was just a big turnout. Everyone was really enjoying it. There were other vendors and such there, but to see the city represented with our library van, and it's bright and colorful. No, in a good way. It's bright and colorful and really energetic. So that was a lot of fun. And Metrolink does a great job. The tickets are reasonably priced. And we took it out to Oxnard and back. My exchange student said, Oxnard Station's really cute. I said, ours is pretty too. So, but it was a nice run. A lot of nice people. Commissioner Mann and his family were also there. Next year we'll have to coordinate, all be in the same car. So that'll be a lot of fun. After that, we went to one of our newest businesses, McKenna's Beach Tacos. I advise everybody to check it out. It was really, really very good. They have limited hours. They do breakfast and lunch. And it was busy. In fact, I ran into one of our canine officers there too, off duty. He was off duty, but it was really good. And on Sunday, December 15th, Maria, my exchange student, and I had the opportunity to volunteer to wrap Christmas presents for Operation Blue Christmas. And that was the end of my week.
All right. And I'm going to get us out of here. So on the 6th, I attended the Boys and Girls Club Community Breakfast. Definitely the organization that I'm, most connected with in this town, and I never miss that. It's a great breakfast. The only other thing that I attended was the supervisor meeting that was held here on the 10th. Got a chance to welcome them and see them in action, and they totally messed up everything up here, so.
They did. It was on.
But, so with that, do we have any future agenda items? Seeing none. Nothing, Rocky? Okay. Then I am going to adjourn this meeting to the regular meeting that will be held on January 13th, 2025. And that's it. Everybody have a good evening. Thanks for being here.
Merry Christmas,
home.
Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year to everybody, too.
Yes. thank you.
Absolutely. Happy holiday, everybody.